What were you saying? How comfortable do you feel with that in that website and like just navigating? Pretty comfortable. Okay, so if you wanna like look from one to two, you can change that. They don't put it on once they preview. Okay. Now. Just so that like. So I think here are all. So which zero is good?
I'm sure I did.
And then she'd say
I'm just.
less, 6.
What's the
Yeah, to see.
like? They did pretty well. Above 40%, but
See that, like areas of growth. Okay, when I was looking at areas of growth, I was looking at either where you did beat the number, where you show growth from I1 to I2, and things like your RP, or where you're really close, right? Like,
we ended up tying the network. Wait, what's that?
and there were still like other schools being close, right? I don't think it was like schools that, or if you feel like they spent your time on a lot of standard average. Yeah,
Like,
right, like they did it already, right? 2%.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Is this something? If it's on.
Yeah, is there an option? I can't bring this, no, not necessarily some our school just don't know that, or not. But.
Quizzing in the hallway is like, oh, I'm still 12, and you're 12.
I'm sure it was just like that.
No, it wasn't, it was almost.
Maybe when we get stuff like this. That's what it was. Yeah.
One of the things for me, I'm switching the order of
June.
wages and stats just because of education here.
Yeah.
And this is what I do. And we're doing grades. The reason our teachers are like, it's probably which is where some of I would have to. No, it's just a matter of choosing.
But if you were to the one we don't have any.
So then, yeah.
So.
So it's the stuff that we are requiring our grades coming back during LCM. And yes, we explicitly. That one was, that was the biggie that which was like, what do these words mean? Positive, negative, like above and below. It's not a positive, like, yeah, like that was right.
Right, I mean, you just have to.
So, and like that was probably one of the harder things about it, you know?
You don't know.
Definitely that one, but then we also got 41 years. Should have been so hard because the question was
But
that
it
2
really,
points.
you are entering that all the time.
And so, it's like, yeah, that should have been.
Yeah, you know, right?
Because they did.
If we get some cut when it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Why is yours not?
Yeah. I know, because if you send in the ones who just made it up and they
Well,
change
and
real
then
quick.
other things.
So that was.
Like other schools are adding, yeah,
That's what happened.
But just
when I was
use
not
what's
working.
is right now.
Oh, shit.
You do better.
Yeah.
I'll ask Anna.
Yeah, me too.
I feel the other way, that I'm looking at my dad, it works. Allow. Hard to buy now.
It was better, so.
Shoot.
Shoot. Yeah. I mean, I was
I'm gonna just do two and skip it. Cause like, this isn't great, but it's kind of that, like.
Yeah.
24%. Great. I think it's kind of a struggle. That's like a foundation, like the first one's a foundation.
And for those, you might want to look at where furthest from that might be a good place.
Yeah.
Since you're not.
I mean, not that great. So, you framing improve that battle. What was the next year? He does. Yes.
Is that your dog struggle with them?
So maybe you could spread your look at those question types. Go see what are those question types. If you put all this stuff, this is.
Mhm. Yeah, it's.
A lot of the time, it's-
Yeah.
Same with you. That's great. I mean, there's like a rock star in my class, as long as it's instead.
Same here.
So much, always with something that's not right.
Yeah, more participants, like you said, if you stay in there.
I know.
That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you guys are- you guys are- No, that's what we shy away from, is instructions.
That's kind of surprising.
Like the multiply and divide, and I don't use any case.
We're close. That makes it.
Okay. Yeah, and with multiply.
The people that try to do it, addition. Different.
She doesn't have some she, and she participates. She
You get the fine.
she's.
Yeah.
It was anyone doing that on there, like, having with you, for Thursday, guys, is it okay? Cause I think overall that day he was just not very good.
Yeah.
He needs to be in a room by himself. Cause I had house half of them, being in the room, he was all about just focusing on that student. And then in the hallway, he changed his answers on the way to you. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm changing my answers. I'm like, you're not looking at the questions.
They get all they do, maybe.
Yeah, were you ready?
No. He's test taking.
Yeah, but I don't know what happens if you get like Because there are 3 answer choices and you get,
It's like you're going
Mom.
it's either you get it all, you get 2 grade, or you grade, or you get. No, I know that's not, I know you can get partial. Michelle said before. I just
Oh,
go back
there you
to
go.
parts.
He's,
Because he gets the test for it.
No, I was just looking at maybe I get the videos.
Oh, see, it's just a little.
Maybe I get at least 2. This one. I know somebody got off. Yeah, it's pretty good. Somebody did, I think it was.
Yeah, like what I'm saying, like it's.
It's just so long as you tell them, you just let them know.
Yeah. That's gotta be cool. It's like our school. And you gotta watch it. Yeah, we did, okay. But I mean, from us, yeah.
I just gotta get the 2.
At this point, you should be on the back. If you're not, can we turn it there, and I want you to compare your scores to the national average. We'll take a couple more minutes before we come back.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Like the way everyone else did it.
Oh, that's what it was. They pulled the old, absolute 0 check.
but there's
That's what I'm wondering because you're.
I agree.
I think we have 50% of that question.
Doesn't have an option.
It could check.
Because there's no option,
It's no
And just go back.
Option 0, yeah.
So that's just like.
The option 0 is 0.
And the meat girls brainwashed me, it's like.
Yeah.
This one, our
Julie also. Yeah, so it was like. And then next week, they're like, I think there's one there, and they want it all.
Either. Yeah, but I'm sure some people, they also use the practice.
Yeah.
But it's not 140 though, so that's why it's really. They put it over.
Right, rather even if you want on that, state the number, 30%.
Yeah.
So all that, you don't have.
Yeah.
Can't practice that with them, Parkinson's problem.
He did really good the last one.
I think second year, it's a year. Alright, we're gonna come back together, so let's crack it out on our computers. You're gonna get a lot more time to do some analysis, we just want to sort of warm your brain up and start looking at some of the data. And so now that we're warm, we just wanna do a warmer brain now, we're warm now. Very good. Okay. So we're gonna do a little whip around, something that surprised you, whether it's good, bad, or in between. It could be, that's it, something that surprised you. Connor.
Let's see. There are quite a few surprises.
Give us your favorite.
My favorite was probably, wait, no, I don't know what this standard means. But probably that we didn't do so well on 6.ns.8.1.
Killer. I'm freaked out. Is that because you spent so much time on it? Is that why you were so surprised?
Yeah, it was a focus, but
Okay. So we'll come back to you. Yeah, we'll come back to you. Figure out that standard is, and we'll be right back. All right, Akilah?
Question, there were two questions, and primarily about comparing and contrasting, two different types of, passages. One was poetry, another one was a nonfiction passage. And so I think one was the wording of how the question was asked and just not knowing what it meant, like the, you know, the word that popped out to me was uncertainty. They probably didn't even have a clue as to what that really meant. And defining narrator and speaker, to know they're pretty much similar, so, yeah.
So that can have some serious implications on not just your reteaching, but the way you word and talk and, you know, write your questions for part 3. Great. Brandon?
One of mine was surprised that we did well on calculating quotients of rational numbers. It's something that through exit tickets and testing that they just never, at least I didn't think they ever quite got it. But they actually did better than the network on that particular
Sarah?
Surprised by some of the students who like went above, pretty significantly above the network average, and it doesn't necessarily align to the effort or performance they show in class. And so thinking about why that is and what motivation needs to change when thinking about those factors.
Janae?
One of my surprises were the scholars that actually passed, and some they got low scores. One of the questions that determined whether they passed or failed was explaining how sodium and chlorine bond, but I didn't give them the periodic table. So I wasn't looking for them to tell me about the balanced electrons, just like the number just that they share. And a lot of the higher scholars got that wrong because they were trying to remember how many balanced electrons it had and telling me, well, it's a triple bond and it's a single bond. So that was kind
Yeah, maybe that has implications for how you, again, how you ask those questions and giving them opportunity to step outside of, I don't know if I'm doing that, but might have implications. Kevin?
One surprise, I was thinking about just the students who did outperform, or like grew a lot from their first interim to the second one, but are being stagnant or not growing as much into the NWA. So really figuring out that mindset, as Sarah was saying, maybe it's due to the fact that they know that AIM has a weight under grade versus NWA is just this score that's attached to them, but it doesn't have too much weight or meaning overall in their school or their class. So just really trying to dig into that mindset, or maybe skills or strategies that they're taking with them in both tasks and where I can help them more.
It could be that, it could also be, and I don't know if this is true for ELA, but it certainly is for math, that NWA measures those more like minute skills versus a kid who's like, you know, on grade level, like really has like a strong understanding of literature. It might not show up in the IA versus on NWA, I don't know if that's true, but it could also be.
Yeah, there's definitely a gap in the alignment there.
Yeah.
Typically grow as a reader. I mean,
Yeah.
you just tend to do better reading there. So that's why they're a little different. But yeah, things like that. Rich?
I was surprised, we were working recently on getting students thinking the abstract, meaning if this had happened in history, how would that have affected the world that we live in now? And I was just surprised that a few of the students who could think in the abstract, i.e. we were talking about how people like Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, the United States, a fraction were different for the lot of African Americans. So I was shocked that kids who normally would be just cruising by, not really contributing because they would be a little bit lost, they were right in there, in the thick of it. And I'm thinking people like as shocking as it might be Damian Rogers, you know, he was able to connect the dots, you know, but then people who I thought would be like Andre, who I thought, no problem, lost, completely lost, at one side, we teach it to him. So that was quite good.
And that's kind of your focus right now anyways, is like the variance in your questioning. And so thinking about that, like how do I give them more at bats with this type of thinking before? So that's awesome.
Either was that your thing?
Yeah.
It's just like, sometimes really hard to like collect data and make sure the kids are proficient in certain skills, so I just love that I have this knowledge, I have iReady and all different things that you guys provide here, but I can actually like go into the specific skill, look at what the kid answered, go back to the question, think about their thinking process, it's just like, this is awesome, so I'm excited.
Do you have a surprise yet as you've begun your dive?
Yeah, I'm coming up with a whole new system for like tracking things now that I just saw this, so.
Okay. So we'll let you share later after you dive a little bit.
I kind of looked at NWEAs, give this, and just like breaking down the reading, just seeing like breakdown between like literature and info, or like taking out an outlier. It grew probably on average 20 in the informational text, which is just, I mean, it kind of makes sense as I kind of hit that, but just the growth, just how much it shows. It's pretty cool. And then helps me kind of see like literature, it's gotta be next focus and stuff, so.
That's a school-wide thing, right? Like, we find nonfiction, we're gonna shove it in your face, great work. Maybe a balance there.
I'm ready now.
Sorry, I didn't.
I was thinking,
Back.
the two problems that I was looking at that they did poorly on, it was having to do with like interpreting models and figuring out how to kind of answer that question around it. So we do a lot of model work in the class, but I'm not doing enough CFUs to see if they understand how what the question's asking or how the pieces fit. So I think we could do more of that.
Great, so you're already thinking about your solutions, which is where we're all at. Okay, before we kind of set you free for a little while, if you could open up your Chromebooks and go into your Drive, you've previously been shared on a folder called Professional Development. And within that folder, there's another folder called January, called PD, and then January. So if you could get there, that way when I'm explaining kind of your next steps, you can see. One note, for some reason, some of the Google Docs were acting a little funny. If that happens and I can't pull it up as a Google Doc for you, I can definitely send it to you. Just did some formatting when I was trying to pull it up wasn't working on my Mac, but it might be just fine.
Okay, I'm going with.
Go into PD.
PD.
Well, the first is professional development, yes. And then in there.
January professional.
Guys, I don't think they're on
Okay.
that folder that you guys said. Oh, they're not on this.
Well, let's just give it to you.
Share it down. Please don't share on the public folder, professional growth and development.
Right.
Share
on we can just share the January.
Yeah, exactly. That is everybody's PGP and all that stuff.
I can
Share.
do it from my. I think so. Just share Brandon's PGP with everybody and then just.
It's gonna be like that. That's all I want.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of this.
Okay,
it's
in
here.
Should I on it or I can share it on
PD. Oh, that's why, so January PD day-to-day. All right, I'm just gonna share, I'm just gonna share this folder.
I can see there was already a January PD.
No, this is good. Yep, so I'm going to share that folder with just team. Sorry about that, guys. All right, I apologize. You should have just gotten an email from me. And there's a folder for math and ELA, and that's gonna have your template in there. And then science and social studies, you're using a slightly different template. Yeah, well. So, yeah. So if you want to, right now, just go ahead and make a copy as soon as you get in there. Yep. That will be ideal.
Oh, yeah, we're doing that.
I don't know.
Yeah, PJ, I just wait for a second.
Yeah, we can make a copy, then I'll give a little clarity, and then off you go. Is there anyone who has not found the document they're looking for?
Yeah.
I can definitely send it to you, Calvin. I don't know. What if you change the view to landscape? So right, yeah. Alright, so we'll just send you the document that was. Yeah. But if you don't go only in Chromebook, then are you really on the same? You have to convert it to Google. But that's what, something's happening when you convert it to Google, that it cuts off half the page. Well, I could send it to you as a normal document, and you could open it and then write your responses on the piece of paper.
If you.
or open a blank, even if you have Google Drive, it will come up, you just won't be able to edit it, right? If you have a Chrome. Okay, yeah, I can make a physical copy of it, just rewrite on it. Yeah. Okay, I'll make physical copies and I'll send them to you and you can pick your pleasure. Alright, so, if I could get your attention for about 60 more seconds, then we can let you fly. So right now, we're gonna give you 45 minutes to dig deeper, to answer these questions. Our apologies for the formatting. And then once, in that 45-minute time, once you've decided for ELA, this is my passage, this is my standard, just get my attention and we can kind of make sure that we feel like that's a good idea and then go on from there. So same with math, once you choose your standard to reteach, just let Leah know. We'll have that conversation and then we'll move forward. So 45 minutes on the clock. When we come back at 45 minutes, we're going to talk about how we're going to translate this to a plan for the classroom. Okay?
Can I make an announcement when everybody's together and because I have a couple of meetings? For everyone's, just purely so you guys can kind of plan accordingly. I think you guys know we have a plumber here dealing with some issues with the water down below in the crawl space. Yes, for those of you who are new this year, now you're finally, those of you who are returning are not surprised at all about all the issues we're having with the building right now. Those of you new might be a little good introduction to a real building that had no maintenance on it for like 20 years. They had to dig out stuff, and that was what the plan was for today, and then later in the afternoon or tomorrow, they were gonna deal with the actual leak. But the leak is worse than expected, and so they can't do anything until they turn off the water. But they're not